Hi, my name is Alex Tikis, and I'm doing a podcast for Kinesiology 3303, and we'll be talking about paying players in college sports. One player in particular I'd like to talk about today is Zion Williamson when he hurt himself earlier this year. Obviously, so many players go through this, so many players go through injuries, and it's time to pay these players is what a lot of people are saying. A lot of people are saying that these players risk their health in order to go to the league or play for a game they love, and they should be paid for it. Another benefit that I see is that college players have something to play for. I understand that's supposed to be for the love of the game, and there's supposed to be a type of passion, but how many students are working part-time jobs? How many athletes fly around the country, show up at 1 or 2 in the morning, have to wake up for a 7 or 8 a.m. class, go through class that whole time, then go to a meeting, then go to another meeting, then work out, then have practice, then do it all over again, and not get paid. This sounds like a job because it basically is a job, and it's just really interesting. The colleges also make money off of these athletes. Obviously that's not right. These schools are making so much money. The NCAA makes so much money, and it would benefit the athletes if they got a little bit of it. They would feel like they are also part of this organization. If the NCAA truly says, we are for college student athletes, you would pay them. If you're for them, they're not making any money. People don't think about it is if you pay these players, it'll be the first time they're being paid for a sport. So now you can gauge how they will react to like a small degree. So let's say a player was being paid, $1,000 a month. Right? So let's say $12,000. It's a decent chunk of change. How will they react? Will they play better? Will they relax? Will they demand more money? So that's something that I think also has to play into account. And then also, if you pay the players, it's also a positive for the NCAA. You won't have these college athletes leaving. If you might have a smart player that might go, hey, I can get my 4-year degree, get paid on the way there, and then become a professional athlete. And then let's say something happens, something goes wrong and down the line where I can't perform anymore. I can just go have a regular job or just do something with my degree. You can just do so many more options, obviously, in today's society with a degree. Let's talk a little bit about the negatives about this. The negatives is that it will become more of a professional sport if you pay them. So along with that is contracts. Obviously it will be a contract. It will have to be. It would have to be a contract, and you'll have to do autographs. You will have to go to events. You will have to do interviews. See, all this you have to do. These college athletes feel like the NCAA and possibly their schools are using them because they're not being paid. But if they do get paid, they will be under contract. They will be forced to go to do things for their school or the NCAA. So if they felt like they were being used now, imagine if they were being paid. And then some of these athletes get scholarships to play the sport, and that's great. But once you get paid for it, is it really for the love of the game? I think that players will just have to weigh it out. If you're being paid $500 and you had to give away possibly your likeness, the name on the back of your jersey sales, all of that, you're not going to feel that you are getting the money you deserve, no matter how much the NCAA will be able to give you. You know, could the superstar athletes in college be paid more than their teammates? And it could happen. You're being paid $500, and you look at the star athlete and he's making $1,000. You go to every practice the way he does. You fly out the same way he does. You stayed in college longer than he did. So I think that will be interesting if that actually happens. If you start playing players, things will have to be contractual, where they will have to do things. They will have to go to everything. It's mandatory, or that you don't get paid. Will you have players demand more money? That's an obvious question. It's an 18-year-old kid getting paid money. You know, in the league, they're going to get paid money too. So if let's say I am the top player in my sport in college, and I'm being paid $1,000 a month, and I get to the championship, and we can lose, and I say, and that's gonna lower down my my stock for the draft. Well, what if I say, well, I want to get paid more. I want to get paid a couple grand for this game. This is a big game. If I win this championship, I will definitely go number one. You will get a lot of media attention. You will get a lot of fan base. You will get more athletes to come to your program because of me. You know, and I don't want it to sound like one player is what makes a team, but, you know, looking at Duke with Zion Williamson, R.T. Barrett, and then the other three guys, I mean, they're all really good. So even just that team alone, they will bring athletes to their program. So will you not pay that college athlete? Will you let him sit out? Will that affect the team? How will that affect the coach? There are so many things that I think people are just not thinking about when you pay these players. You know, these are still 17 or 18-year-old kids that have never really been paid before. So if you start paying them, how are they going to react? We don't even have normal adults react well when they don't get paid well. So imagine if you paid a 17 or 18-year-old kid. I also think that college athletes have to understand that they are not going to make $1 million. You know, the NCAA is not going to give a player $1 million for a year. Not even $250,000. So it's probably going to be on the basis to start off minimum wage. In my opinion, is that the players should not be paid. And I don't mean that in a sort of disrespectful sense. Let me explain. So, if I was a player, I think the problem with today's NCAA is there's not enough options for the student athlete. Let's say, for example, LeVar Ball had the JBA League, right? And it was not very successful, but it is a start. You know, if I was a college athlete and I felt like a degree was just not something for me, and I was only going to be there for a year, and I just wanted to already be paid, and I just wanted to start something, and they told me that I could go to a league, get paid for it, and it was a functioning league, and the professional sport recognized it, and so my draft stock goes up, why am I going to college? Why would I go to college? If I blow out my knee in 6 months or whatever, a college will definitely take you. Maybe not a big college, but at least you now have options. See how you have options now, because if you get paid in college, you blow out your knee, you're done. Everyone just saw you do that. You went to school based on your, you know, athletic prowess, and it's over. It's done. But let's say you go to a league, you play well, okay, and you're getting paid for it, and then you're allowed to go back to college. That will be a very interesting take, because for the NCAA, it's an amateur league, so you don't get paid for it. But what if you went to a league, got paid, and then you came back to college and then played? That's going to be very, very interesting, because the NCAA, I feel like in a couple of years, 10 years, they won't have players. You're going to have a couple of leagues where these players go, let's take the NBA, for example. These players go, I can go to Europe, get paid for it, and then come back to the United States, get drafted well, and then get a high contract. OJ Mayo did that a long time ago, and he was in the league for a little bit. These players only stay in college for 1 year. So, how much of a college experience are they truly getting?
The most valuable thing when you're a young person is an education. And if you start throwing contract dollars at these kids and you take their eyes off that ball, you're doing them a real disservice. But
at the same time, look how much money everybody around them is making.
How many players want to be in college? How many players want to be at the school that they went to? Do they just go because they want to be the first, they want to be with the top recruits? Do they think that this is the best chance to get them a high draft stock? A lot of things come into play. So I feel like the problem with the NCAA is that there's just not enough options. There's just not enough options for the college athlete. Because if you had 3 leagues compared to the NCAA and they were all paying you, why would you go to college? They're already paying you for what you're good at. And that is the whole point of working, is that you work and then they pay you. So if you feel like you're working, because you are, then you should be paid for it. Another thing that also concerns me is that how do you pay these college athletes? I understand that the NCAA makes like $1 billion, but some of the revenue does go back to I'll just bring it up. It goes, let's see, we'll just name it down the list right here. It's going to go through sports sponsorship and scholarship funds, Division I basketball performance funds, Division I championships, student assistance fund, student athletic services and championship support. And this is all just from Division I men's basketball championship television and marketing rights and championship ticket sales. That's $844.3 million, and the championship ticket sales were $133.4 million. Okay, so it's not like they're making chump change here. They're making a ton of money. And so you have to wonder how much profit are they making? They say they're making $1 billion in revenue, but how much are they making in profit? When you take away the expenses, when you take away everything, how much are they truly making? And can they pay every college student athlete? I can look this up real quick.
There's a lot of ways that you could do it if you wanted to do it. So one example is you could say pay them a free market price, whatever that is, fair market price. Another example is say cap it at some price. Let's say it's a work study credit. Maybe that's minimum wage, but it's for all the hours that they work. And if they're working 40, 50 hours a week, that'll start adding up to real money for them. Another example is, what if you say, look, the schools aren't going to pay you, but you can still be an amateur, you can still participate in the college sports with side endorsements. If you want to get autograph deals at the local car dealership, you want to get a...
Okay. And then your best worker is going to say, hey, I'm only going to be here for a year. Do you want to pay him? What is the point of that? He's only going to be there for the year. But, I mean, he's bringing in a lot of money. So, money just is a really slippery slope. Really, really slippery slope. Does the star athlete get paid more than the guy at the end of the bench? The guy at the end of the bench has been there for 4 years. He's worked hard. He's been there all the time. He does more than what if he does more than the top 5 athlete in the country. Nothing happens for him. Like, they are starting a league where it's supposed to be like a college style. I believe the requirement is that you have to be a college graduate, 4 years. So now these college athletes have an opportunity to go play in the league after 4 years. See, now those students have something to play for. And that helps the NCAA. Because now the NCAA doesn't have to pay them. They say, look, in 4 years, if you do well, you can go into that league. And then they'll probably move you up to the to the NFL. But again, back to the college athlete. Now the college athlete has something to work for. They have something to play for now. Because, sitting 4 years, not getting paid, is probably very frustrating. That resonates with every student in college. I have to wait 4 years until I have to get a degree. I have to work a part-time job. I have to drive myself. I have to take the bus. I have to whatever you have to do to graduate. Any student will tell you that. However, I will say, for that league, just watching it, there were so many hard hits. There were so many hard hits that would have been illegal in the NFL. So now you have athletes risking their body just to be in that league, just so that they could play professional. But I mean, that's their risk as well. But see, that is a risk they have to take, right? And I feel like a lot of student athletes resonate with that they also have the same risk, and they do more. They probably feel like they have to do so much work than the professional athlete just to get there. Like, imagine what they have to go through. They have to go through so much. We're not even talking about the interviews. They could say the wrong thing at the wrong time in an interview and then get paid $20 million less. A rumor about you being drunk at a college party could really lower down your draft stock. I think people also don't understand that you're not thinking from the student's point of view. If you paid college athletes, okay, now students will be unhappy. They will be very unhappy because they feel like they're working. Let's see, how much do I work? I work 40 hours, and then I still do part-time school. But there are other people who I know that have a full-time job, go to school full-time, and they expected to succeed. And, if I saw somebody and they were playing a sport and they got paid for it and the college just paid for everything, it would just feel very unfair to me because the college does not pay for everything that I do. I have to pay for my school. I have to do everything. And not to diminish anything they've done. Obviously, they've done so much in order to get to that point, and obviously, there are people that feel like they put themselves in the best opportunity to be successful, and that's why they're there today. And I agree with them, but at the same time, people are put in positions that is just also very difficult, and the way that they're doing it is the best that they could do it. That was the only way they knew how. So you have to, if you're the NCAA, you're just going to have to ask yourself, is paying the student athlete worth it? Is it worth the revenue? Is it worth the stress of paying college athletes? Is it worth, you're not even talking about the media attention. What if Duke pays a player and they're unhappy, so they go to another college and then they say, hey, we can offer you more? See, there will be so many rules. There will be so many rules. NCAA will have to say you can only pay this player this much. You can only play this little. You have to play in these many games. But I hope it pays off all in the end. But that's what they have to go through. This is the reality of a student athlete, is that they go through so much hardship and stress, and they could not get paid in the end. So I think it will just come down to what the student will do. Eventually, it is true that it is always just up to you. You have so many opportunities and options, and if there are not options, make some. I think also college athletes have to consider that, is being paid really the problem? Is it really the problem? Let's say they gave you 50 grand a year to stay in college for 4 years. I think any student would take that. But what if they just robbed you of a $100 million contract because now you can't get out of college? Now you're stuck. You know, a great example is LeVar Ball. When he opened up the JBA League, it looks like it's going to be shut down now, but it forced the NBA's hand in reevaluating their G League. So now he has provided opportunities for more athletes to be recognized and be paid for their abilities. And so in the end, it could work. It could work, just providing more opportunities for athletes. Thank you for taking your time and watching this. Obviously, this is a conversation about college players, if they should be paid, but I believe that the real question is, are we doing enough for the college athlete to give them options for a successful future?